All right. So the floor is open. Anybody like to share their particular wonder this week?
Last Tuesday, a week ago, I was perfectly fine. I woke up the next morning and I could hear my heart, and I don't ever remember that. And in fact, I was having a irregular heartbeat, which I have never had, and I ended up spending 2 days in the hospital.
Ooh,
So I would say, and I'm down here alone in South Carolina. I don't know anybody. So it was a very scary few days, and I think I'm fine. And I would say just in terms of today in this class, it's like I'm kind of blown away by what the body does. That all our lives, unless we have some incident like this, it beats. The heart just beats.
that
It
little
beats this
muscle.
a muscle, it just does it, and it does it mostly in the same rhythm. Maybe a little faster, a little slower, depending if we're exercising, but basically it's just doing it. And it has this whole electrical system. And it's the electrical system that gets thrown off when you have a tachycardia, a AFib, or they have different names, but too fast, to something. And it's balanced with your blood pressure, which is different. It's a miracle. I
It is
mean, the
amazing.
fact that we function, period, at all, that with all the parts in our bodies and all the systems that all have to work together, and it's amazing we're healthy at all. So
It
I
is.
have been, I did hear my heart, really hear it for, I think, the first time in my life where I really paid attention to the fact that I could hear it in a way that I knew was not right. And it wasn't. So, so it's nice to be able to say that and have it. I don't know what we were supposed to pay attention to this week, but I know what I was paying attention to this week. So
You got the
thank
divine
you for the
assignment.
topic.
Yes,
Yeah.
as to what to do, pay attention to.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, it's also the case you go through something like that, you stop taking your heart for granted. You
Yeah.
start taking your body for granted. You stop taking life for granted. It's the upside of these things. If you survive.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Yeah. See, Lisa.
Hi. So I noticed more wonder this past week, which was good. I think I had a better sense of that it's not contrasting per se, but it's there all the time to be noticed. Um, Something that stood out to me was that there was snow completely covering my backyard, and then Um, I looked out there, the snow was gone, and there was this one dandelion all by itself that peeked up, and it looked like it was mature and bright yellow, and I was just astounded. Where did that come from? All by itself, this one single strong thing. And my husband said, well, maybe it was there all winter under the snow. I don't think so. I don't think so. But regardless, it showed that there was this wonderful life underneath this snow in this barren place, and that was astounding. And then the other thing that struck me, I think, even deeper from that was the joint reciprocity that I felt with another person looking at this same thing at the same moment and having an experience about it, which is something that I feel isn't really noticed as much anymore. So much with technology and everyone with their faces down in their phones, that joint reciprocity moments, those moments of real connection where we're both noticing something and we look at one another like, wow, you feel connected even though you're not in a way. You're in your own experience, your own universe here. And that was wow.
Yes.
That was really wonderful.
Yes. Yeah. It's a second, like a second joy, doubles the joy.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Double rainbow.
The there's wonder and then there's the thought. It's like I can't imagine what that dandelion's doing. You know, I use them as a ground soil indicator, and so they all pop out when the ground is just the right temperature to plant certain things. So that's how I've always noticed dandelions. And so this one to show up, out of the ground, which must be at the surface pretty much frozen. Who knows? Who knows what that plant was thinking? So,
A message.
yes. All right. Well, thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks. My lawn's not showing yet, not much anyway. But it could be in the next day or so that it starts to pop through. All right.
So in my small group, I was talking about the benefit of having found quite recently 3 yoga classes in a week that are very accessible, and one is even free. But the other 2 are at the senior center, and so they're 3 days a week. I've been going to yoga, and the teachers are fairly new to me, and of course very different. And one is quite intense, even annoying in terms of like constant and rapid instruction. That's a little difficult to follow, but a good challenge for a group of seniors, I suppose. And but more than that, it's been the after experience of particularly last week with that individual teacher, that I was finding a huge amount of space in my thorax and in my neck, and it was staying with me for some time, and so I couldn't help but be in awe of it.
Beautiful.
And then even with comparing the other approaches the other teachers have, and so exploring that a little bit more, and maybe my resistance, and one is quite physically challenging. And that was today also, and that was, I ended up being sore, and just even that was interesting, and it was, and there was so much more than that, but I was a little drawn to the pain issue. But anyway, it was just also finding more things to be awestruck by, but in particular with the body.
Yeah.
It was a great benefit.
All right. Beautiful.
Yeah.
It makes me think of Patty Townsend, she was a teacher here in Amherst for years.
Uh-huh.
And, she also is a teacher of yoga teachers and eventually started her own style of yoga. And she went off into body mind centering, this whole thing. And I remember talking with her once, and she said, in order to teach this, I have to keep being interested. I need to find new things. I need to have new approaches, and I can't just be living in the same old all the time. And I really appreciated that about her. She's quite an amazing yoga teacher. She still is out there blogging. I get her blogs and see her videos that she does of stuff. And she's always growing. She's always changing and learning new things. And the body is like that. We were just talking about how it's just a miracle that the body even survives 1 minute, much less, years and years, given how complex it is. And in the same way with yoga, it's like there's so much to notice about the body when you do these postures. You know, it looks like there's this
Right.
set of postures, you get tired of them, but no, actually, you go deeper and deeper. And you are noticing the space in your thorax, and you know, the body changes and we notice different things and it goes deeper and deeper.
Yeah.
So enjoy.
Yeah. Thank you.
Enjoy your yoga.
Yeah.
All right. Allison, you were.
So in my little discussion, we were coming up that this week was a very hard week to feel a whole lot of joy and wonder. And I think for me, whether I pay attention or don't pay attention, and trying not to, the whole sense of war and what's on the world stage and domestically has really been weighing. And so I felt like I was really working hard to try and redirect to other things and allow, in a sense, distraction to carry me places. And so there were moments I was cat sitting, and there were moments with my daughter's cat, and the fact when she came and connecting with her when she came back. We went to a wonderful Japanese meal, and we watched the snowboarding Olympic things, which was really, that is awesome. And there were moments dancing tango where there was laughter over being very, very serious. And so great connection moments. But it all felt like moments under like a pall. Uh, um, like it's like trying to swim up through the dark to reach the light. And knowing there's wondrous things around, but not being able to access a whole lot of it. And I didn't know whether to voice that, but because I'm wondering how resonant that is for other people. I don't feel like, well, at least in my lifetime, we've never been in the situation we are in now in the world. And it feels heavy growing older into this, not knowing what, sort of with all the uncertainty, not knowing what will resolve and saying, okay, but I have to live this moment. I need to live this moment. And how do I live this moment with awe or wonder is really challenging.
Yeah. I mean, one thing I'll say is that wonder doesn't have to be just about joyful things. You know, wonder can also be about, how can I put this? The way humans are. You know, and the humans aren't just one way. They're not just angels. And so I don't know if I can quite, how can I put this? I don't want to create this expectation that as we're cultivating wonder that we have to push everything else aside. So you might try bringing wonder to even that experience of the news, because you know the mind wants to comment. And one of my experiences of wonder is to have the mind go a bit silent as to the interpretation, the prognostication of what's going to come out of all of this. And so sometimes it can be just like letting your heart resonate with a school getting bombed. And just let that be simple. And sometimes, you know, we have our own kind of stuff that wants to clamber on the dark stuff out there and make it even darker. Instead, just see if you can let that reality in. Just, wow, you know, these people have lost their lives. People who love them are bereaved. If that happened in my neighborhood, what would that be like? What in my community? What would that be like? And this is been happening to human beings for millennia. It's actually nothing new. We just do it from farther away and with less personal contact, less actual face-to-face contact with the context with what we do, which is also kind of odd. So it's more about seeing if you can let the mind go more silent and let just the fact of these things kind of touch your heart. Let there be space for it. I think in all the kind of sorrowful things that are happening around the world, I do think it matters to people that somebody notices. I do think it matters somehow that we witness and take in other people's sorrow, other people's impossible situations, and take in their courage, not just their suffering, their courage and their resourcefulness, the bonds of community that hold them together through disaster. There's something there of value, even if we can't help them in any other way. We can actually let it touch us. We can actually let it in. And there's something wondrous about that capacity that the heart has to take in another person's experience and to not close down, not turn away, not go numb. It's quite a challenge. I feel challenged myself. But I also know there are moments where I just take it in. Just take it in and witness it. So that's my sense of how even wonder could be woven into this moment. For you or for anybody else in this class who's feeling a heaviness around the current war.
I think it's the current war. There's so many levels, but I hear what you're saying because that is sort of what I almost felt that was the most, at times that was the most I could do, was just be there. I have friends in Israel and shelters and angry at their government and yeah, friends who have health issues and myself as well, and on top of everything else. And so, yeah, like those little moments, like the symphony having sensations wash, and we almost like feels courageous to be making art, to be experiencing art, to experiencing joy in these little ways, seems huge at times.
It does seem huge.
Mm.
I listened to a song today. It was just something Spotify, the algorithm put up because I was listening to this other song and I let it run out. And then Spotify thinks, oh, well, I'll give this person other things that are like that. And I don't remember a lot about it, but the gist of it was, what can I do? What can I do? I'll start with a song. I think that was actually the title of it. If you want to see if you can find it, I'll start with a song, And yeah, I was touched by that. This sense of let's reach for something very human here. And it takes a certain courage. Takes a certain, could even say sovereignty in your being to, in the midst of everything, to do a creative act of some sort. It's like create space for something, here to come through. All right. Well, thank you for bringing that up, Allison. I think that was something not to leave unsaid.
I was hesitant because it wasn't something joyous per se.
Yeah. No, I just don't think more things work like that. I think you have to work with what's real.
Yeah.
You have to work with what's real. So I really thank you.
I was partnered with Allison, and after we left our rooms, I was thinking about today. I listened to, I think, a really interesting podcast that kind of dovetails with this class. He's a psychologist, an academic out in California, and he talked about an approach to it was addiction and chronic pain and mindfulness, reappraisal, and savoring were the three components. And mindfulness, obviously, he discussed and described. The reappraisal was really interesting, and it was kind of the second arrow story. Like it's not the event per se, it's our beliefs and our story about the event. And he talked about some interesting questions when we find ourselves suffering, to reframing and revising our thought process, which was, I thought, really helpful. And then the piece that I thought really was in line with this class was the savoring piece. And he said, I think he said, the more we savor things, the more practiced we become and our brain becomes more sensitive. And it's funny because I thought, yeah, since this class, I've definitely been more mindful of things that are awe-inspiring or even just clever, or a word usage that I thought was, oh, I wouldn't have thought of that word, whatever simple thing. But I liked what he said about, like, it's almost like a muscle, flexing a muscle. Keep doing it, and you do start to notice more. And I think in the midst of everything that's going on, it's there's so much beyond our control. So at least we can find some relief from suffering in the savoring. I thought it was just I listened to it twice.
Mm.
It
I
just,
love that word. Even just to say the word,
yeah,
just to say the word has an impact.
yes.
Some
And
books are like that.
one example he gave, which was so sweet, he said, like watching my son play outside and seeing a little smile on it. I mean, it can be um, just a little glimmer, just a tiny moment. Um, but spending time and noticing and how it makes you feel, and just reinforcing what you've been talking about for the past month.
All right. Thank you. Yeah. My version is watching videos of my granddaughter over and over. And just, her face goes through so many changes so fast. It's just amazing. All right. Yes. Savoring. Who else? It's so nice to listen to all you really bring these things forth. So enriching. And sometimes I think these classes are an excuse to talk about things that, we just don't necessarily think of talking about in the course of a day. Doesn't seem like it's what work is about, maybe, or whatever, the reporting in that happens at dinner or the phone call. Just so it lets us connect in a different way. So let's see, Mickey.
Yeah, hi. Yeah, I was thinking about going back at the beginning, you talked about drop familiarity.
Drop, drop,
Yeah, and so one thing that I really love to do and was doing today, because I do it almost every day, which is walking briskly. And today I was able to walk on the bike trail here in Northampton. And so appreciating that I can walk without slipping, that it's dry, it's not icy. Well, that's not something in the middle of the summer, will I remember to appreciate the fact that I can walk without slipping on ice? Um, just again, it's like we've talked about appreciating the most basic little thing. I love the feeling of my body walking, and now I can do it with this confidence. So that's it.
All right, thank you. While we're waiting, I'm just thinking of something that I love is, there are these warm days with the snow still down, and that happen here in New England. And it's kind of interesting to walk. We took a walk in the evening, and once the sun is going down, you're not getting the warmth of the sun, but there's still all this kind of warm air. But there's also the snow that's cooling things down. So you're like passing through these pockets of warmth and pockets of cool, and then you'll hit another warm spot, and then you'll hit another cool spot. And then there's the kind of fog that starts to form when the warmth air starts to cool down and is on top of the snow. And I even think that there's a smell to the snow in March. I'm not necessarily smelling the mud yet, but there's something about the sun on the snow and the freshness of the air on a sunny, warm day with snow still on the ground. It has a particular flavor, has a particular scent to it. All right, so that's me just filling in for a moment. Anyone else want to speak?
Yeah, I appreciate hearing the more joyful aspects of wonder that people have shared. And when we broke out into the rooms, I shared something quite similar to what Allison had to say about just all the things that are going on in the world, and just historically how brutal we can be to each other as human beings. And I use the word, not so much that I've been experiencing wonder as a sort of like a awestruck bewilderment at how we can behave towards one another. But contrasted with how beautiful we can be and how we can create art and beauty and be loving and kind towards one another. But just I've struggled to find just this kind of joyful, like to see the joyful aspects, joyful sort of wonder in the past days, paying attention. I don't pay attention to the news consistently, but and I've read a lot of history as well. And yeah, just this really awestruck, bewildered sense of everything human beings can be and do. So I had that similar sentiment experience seeking wonder as Allison expressed this week.
A kind of a bewildered awe.
What's that?
Bewildered awe.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is astonishing. My mind goes all sorts of directions. There's also kind of the bewildered awe of what can go on in a relationship when it starts to go bad. And suddenly this person that you were in love with, or you've looked to for comfort and so forth, is actually the person that you're not finding any comfort with, or they're currently touching all your buttons or whatever. And it's like, how did that happen? Kind of a bewildered awe to it. And I don't think it's that different from warfare, in the way that, things spiral out of control and perceptions start to harden and so forth. It's hard to parse out. It really is. And so there is this sort of bewildered awe to it. I absolutely agree. And so, let that be what it is. Don't feel like you have to be happy, happy, happy. That's not really what I'm aiming for here. But there may be moments, even in this time, when you can let some lightness in. You can you can also take in that all these other things are going on besides the things that are being kind of front and center in the news. So work with it. It's worth working with. Thank you. So there's somebody else who was popping in there. Robin, yes.
Just simply that today I was walking in a t-shirt outside and that I opened up all the windows in my house and it still got up in the high 70s in my house with all the windows open and snow all around. It was just beautiful.
Mm,
Yeah. Drying in the sun.
lovely. All right. Anyone else? Where shall I begin? Give a little talk here. I shall begin.